Hi guys, so it's been part of the SNP's manifesto to hold a second referendum on Scottish independence. So now that they have been elected or re-elected, you can't be angry with them for implementing their electoral pledge. Now the Scottish Government has earmarked a total of £20 million to spend on the referendum, and this was highlighted by BBC Scotland. Now Kate Forbes, the Secretary for Finance and the Economy, was challenged by a reporter on this in a sort of disingenuous way. Have a listen.
£20 million has been earmarked for referendum spending in the years 2023 to 24. Do you think that people who are struggling to heat their homes and buy foods will be on board with that kind of money going towards the Constitution?
Well, we've obviously secured a mandate to hold a referendum, so it should be of no surprise. But at a time when I'm struggling with a lack of levers to respond, for example, to the cost of living crisis, an energy-rich country like ours is seeing families plunged into fuel poverty because the UK government is failing to lift a finger to help them when it comes to energy regulation. I think that demonstrates that £20 million out of a total budget of £200 billion is money that needs to be spent in order to give the people of Scotland that choice.
Okay. Now, I've heard this argument before when it came to a second referendum in Scotland. During 2019 it was, look, the Brexit is taking place. Brexit is very divisive. It's not the time to call for a second referendum. Then in 2020, the same argument was pretty much used again. There's a pandemic on, you shouldn't be focusing on a referendum during a pandemic. We need to get the pandemic dealt with first. In 2021, it was the recovery. We need to focus on the recovery, stop talking about a referendum. And now in 2022, the cost of living crisis, why are you talking about a referendum? There's a cost of living crisis. In 2023, some new argument will be chosen. And, it's a bit strange that it's coming from the BBC. When this happened 2 years ago, if it's about money, well, this happened 2 years ago. Get Ready for Brexit campaign had little effect, says Watchdog. Boris Johnson's government spent £46 million on a Get Ready for Brexit campaign in October 2020, but demonstrated little evidence it left the public better prepared, Whitehall spending watchdog has found. The National Audit Office said ministers chose to run a £100 million campaign, the most expensive of the four options, to tell all British businesses and individuals how they should prepare for leaving the EU. The campaign was launched as the 31st of October deadline for leaving the EU approached. Now, of course, the UK did not leave on the 31st of October, so that was a waste of money. It eventually left in January, but £100 million was spent on a campaign telling people to get ready for Brexit, even though Boris Johnson knew that the UK would not leave on the 31st of October, but they spent the money anyway. And then when it actually came around in January, businesses were not ready and individuals were not ready. But do you know why? Because they had been told for years that there was nothing to get ready for, unless it's getting ready for sunlit uplands. People were told there will be no checks at the borders. People were told that there would be frictionless flow of goods across the border. Everything will be fine. They need us more than we need them. Of course, they're going to come to our aid if there are any problems. These were the sort of messages that were being pumped out for years. And then a few months before the eventual departure, Michael Gove and others said, there may be some problems. But there was not enough time for businesses to prepare. You can't prepare a shift as great as Brexit, the one that took place in 2020. You couldn't prepare for that in a number of months. Yes, it was part of Boris Johnson's manifesto to get Brexit done. Maybe this was spending £100 million on getting Brexit done. But we're still talking about Brexit. Brexit has not gone away. So what exactly was contained within Boris Johnson's manifesto back in 2019? Yes, you can criticize, if you want to criticize the SNP for spending £20 million, but that's part of their manifesto. They made a pledge to hold a second referendum. Referendums cost money. So yes, there is a cost of living crisis at the moment, but yes, there was a recovery last year and there was a pandemic before that. What exactly do you want them to do? Do you want them to avoid calling a referendum because there's something on, even though it's part of their manifesto? What exactly do the BBC want the SNP to do? Or the Scottish Government to do? Maybe you can answer that. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.